広がるのディナミーライク出しないプロスプレ anyway 永遠にこのままおるかな実際もうやばばくだわ everyday 輝いてもうそう膨らむもっともっとからまして好きなこと追いかけたいのにもうどうやら私の残りを見るのとやばり Step fix my eye 可愛いは正義派かっこいいも可愛いは正義じゃあ自分の中の理想にとらわれてはこの前にハートに咲くてなくて I watch light in the sky I so fly 泣いてないで飛べない天使にも羽はついて跳ね蹴り落としてこの足でいつか飛び出して私でも前に進め
Hello everybody and welcome back to Live Chat, where maybe you can see. Hi everyone. Yeah, the microphone is over here. I've had to do a little bit of rearranging in the space that I have. I've done a bit of rearranging, so hopefully you can hear me okay. I might sound a little bit distant. If I do, I apologise. It's a very echoey room as well. So welcome back to Live Chat. And just in case you feel like I'm not looking directly at you, I do still have the second camera in the computer. But if I use this one, you can just see my open bag of luggage because I have to do packing tonight again. Anyway, I'm going to switch to this camera for now just so we can include the ever required background. Yeah, there was only 8 seconds of Otto, but you know how you can hear more Otto? By listening to Keep Going every day. 3 times an hour. Anyway. By the way, just actually, this is something that's come up a few times, and I never actually mentioned this before, but it's an easy mistake to make. So Otto is only with one T. So it's the Japanese Otto. So we think Otto, O-T-T-O, that's kind of like the Nordic name, which I think is a guy's name actually, but yeah, it's easy to sort of think of it like that, and I do kind of like that misunderstanding that people often think of it as being Otto in like that more Nordic sense. I like that misunderstanding, but just for the sake of being accurate, I will state that it is O-T-O, Otto. Anyway, hope all is well. So we're going to talk about a lot of new music today. We're going to talk about a lot of musical things, talk about hopefully a lot of exciting things, but I will just quickly, thank you, Jeff, I will just quickly address, in the current situation, as I mentioned in the name of this video, I'm going to give a couple of updates. There's not a huge amount that's really changed, but I will say that, yeah, I'm still staring down the same issue that I was staring down before, still struggling to get the visa stuff moving. Got a couple of people I need to talk to. Yeah, there's nothing great in terms of news, but I am surviving. I'm in this place and then I have to leave this place tomorrow. Luckily, I've worked something out with James because James is going to come and visit next week, and as a result, we've worked out I'm basically going to move to another little room in this building. But because James is coming to stay next week, we've booked a place which is big enough for the 3 of us, me, him, and his partner. And so I'll actually be staying in a larger apartment for next week. But then after that, literally that's it. I was actually surprised that I was able to get that week. We worked that out, doing a little bit of jiggering around with the PayPal and everything. But yeah, beyond that, I think there's just no way I can see that I'm going to be able to stay anywhere beyond that. So the next week I'm going to be recording like crazy to try and get as much recording as I can done while I've still got the convenience of having like a place with a roof over my head. But then I'm hoping I'm going to get in contact with, so I was hoping to get in contact with bands like Rumkicks and stuff, but they're on tour, and I've got to be honest, it's very hard to get them to respond to emails. When they do, it's great, but they don't check their contacts very much. So, you know, trying to get hold of a few people. So hopefully if I can start seeing more people while I'm here in Korea, then that can lead to me getting maybe some more connections and having some things to do to at least break it up. I'll be honest, I've been working so hard on getting new content for the channel, all of the channels, you know, working on edits for Band Broadcast, working on content for Bucker Breakdown, working on content for this channel. I've been working so hard on all of that if I'm entirely honest with you, I think I mentioned this before, I've barely left the house. Well, the room. I barely left the room in except for going to the kitchen and buying food, I've barely done any of that. So I'm occasionally having to just go out and have walks now, just because, like, you know, I'm very keen on walking and exercise, but I've been trying to do that. The temperatures have been quite low, around about anywhere between -4 and it was -14 the other day, which was wild. So it has been very cold. I don't have any gloves, which means that when I go out, I'm fine, but my hands start freezing over, which has also kind of prevented me doing a huge amount of walking around. So I'm kind of in one of those situations where there's a lot of those things going on. It's funny things, I put out that video shortly after I came to Korea asking people, hey, if anyone's got any ideas for meetups and things, then let me know. La, 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 la. And everyone was really sweet in the comments, but pretty much all the comments I got were about, hey, you should check out this Korean band. I'm like, that's not what this video was about. This video was about meeting Korean people, but okay. I just kind of got more reaction requests than anything from that one. So I was like, oh, okay. So yeah, it's been a little bit crazy as a general, but that's where I stand at the moment. As I say, after James leaves, which will be, James is going to be here for the first few days of February, actually. So it will be just over a week. I'll be fine. Obviously, I can't do much working whilst James is here, but I'm basically covered until a few days into February, and then that's it. Because the rest of my money's then got to go towards, like, you know, Japan and stuff. So yeah, I'm working my ass off while I can on this. But there you go. That's an update on the career side of things. But thank you for asking, Chris. Good for me to get that out of the way. Just first of all, I'll say a quick hello to everyone in chat. Hello to Michael. Hello to Loon. Hello, Mirai is here. Hey, Mirai. I'm so happy to see you in chat. Hello to Sven. Oh, cool. We've got the whole gang is here. That's nice. It's probably because I've been a bit sporadic with these over the last few weeks. Also, as well, as a few people might have mentioned, well, you might have seen them in Discord, I have got a really pretty wild migraine right now. But as a result, it's kind of, I managed to calm it down a little bit. So I should be okay. I'm planning to do the Twitch stream after this as usual. But I'll keep you kind of posted. The room, I've managed to, there's no dimmer switch on the light, but I've managed to hang an array of bags. You might have seen my previous version of this last week in the last place. I've managed to hang an array of bags around the light, which has kind of dimmed it. I'm doing everything I can to prevent the migraine, but we'll see how it goes. Anyway, so big hello to everyone. Thank you always to Cool Jeff as well. All right, let's have a look at some of the comments, and then we're going to have to start looking at the Q&A as well, see what you guys have got in there. So Mirai says, have you considered editing a live stream specific version of Keep Going with 9 or even 10 seconds off, maybe fading out rather than just suddenly ending? That's actually, you know, that's such an insanely good idea. All I can say is that there might be something else. I'm going to have to check for permission, but there might be another song appearing at the intro of live chat in future. I mean, of course, it's difficult because I don't know how sustainable live chat's going to be after I don't have a roof over my head. I think that, Mira, I think that is a brilliant idea. And yes, that's something that's come across my mind before, but it always comes across my mind, then I never actually get around to doing it because, you know, you finish live stream and you go back to doing other things and completely forget about it. So it is something that I should definitely do. But there is another song that I'm working on at the current moment that you may know about. Sorry, my hand's on the wrong side of the microphone there. That you may know about. That might actually end up taking that place. But I don't know. That song might be too specifically, might be too referential of someone else. I can't be sure. I'll let you know. But yeah, there'll probably be some update on that sometime soon. So thank you. I might do that. Michael says, in terms of your current living arrangements, it sounds as though you're playing musical chairs. Yeah, well, I mean, this is you're completely right, Michael. And this is what I said before I came out here, was that, you know, I mean, I only expected to have a roof above my head for the first 5 days. And here we are. It's now been 21 days. It's literally 3 weeks today. Well, today, because it's Monday technically here. But so if you consider Monday, whether it be Monday tomorrow for you or Monday today like it is here, it's literally now 3 weeks. And I've got, you know, the next week, if all goes well, the next week I'll also have a roof above my head. So I am really blown away how well we've managed to manage this. And and a relatively good cost. I mean, again, this if you don't know this building, even though I've been switching between different rooms in the building, this is the building that I'd mentioned a couple of months ago that I was trying to get hold of the owner, because this is the same building I stayed in 2022. It's a very good deal because it's not a hotel. There's there's no amenities. There's nothing in here. It's just basically an unfurnished. Well, it's a semi-furnished apartment. There's a couple of little things in here, and all of the rooms in this building are like that. And also, you can't book it like a hotel that's like 2 or 3 days. It's like he's got a minimum period of time because you have to book it as a mini lease each time. So technically speaking, I am actually leasing an apartment. It's not even, it doesn't count as a hotel. It actually counts as leasing an apartment, which is part of the reason why the payment issue has been so difficult but anyway, but yeah, it's been like musical chairs, just moving between one lease and the other lease and the other lease, and just moving around between his empty apartments. But I still have to pay for it. It's not free. So I would really like to make some Korean friends who are going to let me couch surf. Oh yeah, I did pick up a proper plastic bottle for 2,000 won, so it's about 200 yen. Daiso here is similar price to Japan. I will start talking about music in a minute, I swear. The thing is that I decided to pick this up because I've been doing my usual trick before, where you like buy coffees and then you just sort of take the PET bottles and refill them. But do you know when you refill a PET bottle? I don't know if you guys have ever done this, but you buy a PET bottle, you drink from it, and then you spend the next the day or two you refill it. For some reason, when I refill the bottles here, they don't taste right. Something tastes wrong, and I was wondering, is it something to do with the plastic? Is the plastic like not very good, or is it just the water? Because the water in Korea is okay, but it's not as good as the water. I don't think it's as well filtered as the water in Japan, or maybe that's just because I'm in a building like this and the pipes are not very well maintained. I don't know. I assume they're well maintained, but maybe they're not. So it hasn't been tasting so good. So I decided to get like a proper plastic bottle. It wasn't PET, and it seems that the water tastes a little bit better. So I don't want to get I'm not like one of those germaphobes, but I am still cautious, and I don't want to get like ill from like contaminated water or something. All right, I'll read a few more comments, then we'll start catching up on some music. Well, actually, some of the comments are about music, actually. But not a fan, but also knew it was Otto with 1T. Oh yeah, in regards to caramel candy. Yeah. I think if you spend enough time with Discord, you see me writing it all the time. Mirai says, lol, somehow talking of spelling Otto with 2 T's resulted in me accidentally spelling it that way. Wait, did you do that? I kind of almost block it out now when people do it, but you did. 2 T's and no capital O. You're kind of like semi-European. Lol from Chris. Loon says, Scandal was good, but I was hoping for something more akin to Terror Boy. Plenty of Rina in the video to make up for it, though. Yeah, to be honest, I mean, Rina was very front and center in that video. It was interesting actually because the video kind of had all of them, but when it came to the performance bits, Rina was really front and center, and I got the feeling that the director kind of looked at her and went, "Yes, you look like someone." I mean, we all know her whole vibe. She gives off the I don't want to say model because that word could be misinterpreted, but she gives off that kind of photogenic vibe, I mean, she is always appearing in magazines for like special interests, whether it be clothes and camping and all these kind of things. So yeah, that was a kind of. By the way, as we are talking about Scandal, can we show a little bit of love to our #1 Scandal fan, Harry, who is going through a lot of stuff at the moment. I don't know exactly what the situation is today, but he's been in hospital, and I'm not going to say too much because it's his private details. It's not for me to say. But Harry's been going through quite a lot. So if you guys can make sure, if we're talking about Scandal, can you send a little bit of love to Harry? Thank you. I can see the hearts coming up on the screen. Remember to send him you don't have to DM him stuff. I'm sure in hospital he doesn't want to be DM'd every 5 seconds, but if you do talk to him normally, just make sure you're keeping up with him, and let's help raise his spirits, because he's had a crap couple of years recently. He's had some good news and some bad news, but he is he runs all kinds of things. Like the new Scandal Fan is his YouTube channel, where he does all of the translations and stuff for people. And he doesn't even speak Japanese. He does that entirely via the computer stuff. So let's show a little bit of love to Harry as well whilst we're talking about Scandal. I know what you said about Terror Boy, Loon. I've kind of made my feelings known on Terror Boy. I don't hate Terror Boy, which is weird because I think recently I've been talking about because when it first came out, I really enjoyed it. But recently I've been talking about how a year later, it now when I listen to it kind of grates. It doesn't have the same, now the novelty's worn off. It just kind of feels like a song with a good build up, but then an irritating chorus. But I don't actually hate it. I just it's not as, I don't love it as much as I kind of felt like I was going to when I first heard it, which is kind of more my point, is that it's the long-term effect of it. It's gone from being like a 7 or 8 out of 10 to kind of like a 5 or 6. It's kind of dropped off in my estimation, but I do understand why people like it. And I do think that it has, one of the things I will say about Terror Boy is it has a lot of ideas going on. And that to me is a really strong thing. If you're going to do a song that maybe grates or doesn't 100% hit the mark, so long as it's got like a lot of ideas going on, I can forgive that. Because, better to achieve that via effort than not. Loving all the hearts coming up on screen, guys. Does that come up? You can see that on the screen, on my screen as well. Cool. Someone's just mashing that button. I respect it. Someone's just OCDing the heart button. Pressing it 128 times. Michael says, at least you're still keeping your hand in when it comes to reactions to editing the eagerly awaiting. At least you're still keeping your hand in when it comes to reactions and editing of those eagerly awaited band broadcast videos, Howard. So just a couple of things to cover on that in regards to updates. When it comes to reactions, I'm not going to stop with that. Nothing's going to stop that because, as I've mentioned before, the only reason I do the reaction channel, obviously I hope you guys enjoy it, but the only reason I really do it is to keep a constant dialogue with the Japanese music scene. Because when you're doing things like fully scripted and edited reviews, and when you're doing like interviews and stuff that you have to edit, that's quite a significant amount of work. And obviously you can only put them out at a relatively slow rate. But the reaction videos means that I can always be publishing and giving thoughts on upcoming music. I think of it almost more like having a radio show where, you play the latest song and you talk about it. I feel like that's kind of more the way I treat it these days, is that I treat it more like a, obviously I want to give a review, I want to give a proper critique, I want to talk about the song, not just play, I'm not one of those DJs who just plays it and goes, and that was the new song from Neki. Good band, great, yeah, really like what they do. Great band, good, yeah. What do you think? All right, bye-bye. I don't want it to be that kind of thing. I actually want to give a genuine review so that my video is not just a copy paste of their work, because I love talking about the music. So, but I do see it kind of like almost like a radio show where I'm putting out like a little serialized piece. That's not going to stop. As you guys, if you guys were following the channel back in 2019, which I know a couple of you were, you might remember there was a period when I was living in Incheon Airport at the time, and I still managed to put out 2 a day. So that stays in the back of my head. It doesn't matter it does not matter where I am, it doesn't matter what happens, I am going to keep on putting out those videos because there's no good reason for me not to. Even, and back then, literally I was recording it using like a camera and my little Lumia phone, which was the 2013 Lumia phone, and I was recording it like that, watching it on there, recording it, and then I'd take it back to the airport, sit on the airport bench, and I'd have to stitch it together and get the timing right so what you could see was at the same time as I was watching it. I had to do all of that, and I still got 2 of those out a day. Admittedly, I have more channels and more responsibilities now, but there's no excuse for me to ever stop that now. So that's going to keep on happening. But yeah, I mentioned that I had a couple of big projects. Obviously, I had to get the awards out a couple of weekends ago. Since then, I've been working on a special project that I talked to some of you guys about last week that I'm working on a couple of big things. But that now is freeing me up. The next big project is to work on getting the band broadcast edits finished, all of the videos that we recorded in the last 3 months of 2025. We're now editing those furiously. So yeah, there's a lot. I mean, it is a lot of work. Like I said, when I say I have not left this room other than this room or the other room that I was in before to go and do anything but shopping, I'm not joking. And I'm working constantly to get all that stuff out. So, because I know it'll be easier while I've got a roof above my head. But thank you so much, everyone, for supporting that. That's one of the reasons why, even though I got a headache, I really wanted to do this today because I want to be in touch with you guys, just keeping you guys up to date with things. All right, so we're 20 minutes in, so I need to start looking at the other stuff in a minute. But let's just quickly keep up with the comments. I'm going to skim through them a little bit, see if I can see exactly where we were. As the song goes, you can't always get what you want. Yeah, you could say that for anything. I rarely get what I want, says Lune. Oh, that's sad. Chris saying, just asking how much is a week in an apartment, or will a week longer stay mean a bigger discount or any deals? Actually, I was checking this with James. If you stay for like more than 3 months, sort of 3 weeks, the price does go down a little bit. But effectively, a week is about 27,000 yen. So that's about 130 quid. But like I say, every time I stay here, I'm like, that's money I should be sending to Japan, because I've got to pay for Japan. Yeah, I got that. I got that bills to pay. So yeah, it's a tough one. It's tough because it is a case of, as I've said this from the get-go, I knew this was going to be the case. I'm having to sacrifice my current situation in order to protect, like, everything in Japan. So yeah. Jeff says it's not that easy for foreigners to rent in Japan on a monthly basis. No, in Japan is notoriously difficult. Even getting that apartment was a vast amount of work, which is one of the reasons why I want to honor the contract. Even if I can't go back to Japan right now, I want to honor the contract that I signed. And hopefully that means I can just walk straight back into it. But even if something happened and I couldn't walk back into it, I need to honor that contract, because if you fail on a contract, again, it just affects your record. It makes you look like someone who shouldn't be there. So yeah, cash is still cash. Oh, I think that's in regards to what Jeff said, maybe. Not really. I mean, you'd think that a lot of people in Japan don't want to make money with the way they'll turn you down. I mean, like I say, phone contracts. You can go there and say, look, I've got like this visa to be in Japan for X period of time. And they'll be like, oh, it's a couple of days less than our contract allows, so we won't give you it. It's like, I'm literally willing to give you the entire year's worth of money right now. And they'll go, nah, we can't do it. They're very stringent about money rules, which is, again, why you can't just like send money into Japan. After 20 years, it says Terry, of Scandal, could easily coast just playing the hits and never going near a studio again. But not my goals. Yeah, I think this is something that does define bands who genuinely love making music. I think you look at a lot of these bands. You look at bands like Silent Siren. I mean, Shonen Knife, for God's sake. There are some bands who stop. I think a lot of the time the bands who are more, and I don't say this in a derogatory way, but the bands who are more manufactured tend to stop a little bit earlier, because their musical beginnings were not so much in them having something that they wanted to express as just wanting to play music. And so as a result, there's no real need for them to create. That's not their number one thing. And so when you see bands like Scandal and Bandmade who started off with having their songs written for them, there's always that question mark. Is this the kind of band who wants to create, or do they just want to play, or is it both? But of course, a lot of those bands, I mean, you look at Scandal and Bandmade, I think that the reason why they started with having songs written for them was not because they didn't want to write songs, but just because they started off in a situation where they went straight to a company, and then the company therefore were like, well, look, we want to get a surefire thing, so, we're going to get some songwriters involved. And they said yes, and that happened. And of course, if you're new to songwriting anyway, then it might be safer to let someone else take the reins. Not really the way I like doing it. I like to think that bands, I've always preferred bands that have come into existence because the songwriting was at their heart, and then they learned to play instruments because they wanted to express something. But there are bands where they start off with wanting to play the instrument and then they become songwriters. That's fine as well. But ultimately, you keep going if you find the love of expressing stuff. If you find the love, if you always find there's something new you want to say or something new you want to do. In the case of Scandal, obviously the last few songs, they didn't write this most recent song, and when it comes to Love Spark Joy, they didn't write that either. They had some writing input there, but it was a lot of that was not written by them, most of it, in fact. So I do hope they come back to writing a bit more. I am a little bit concerned that they're not writing their stuff now, but by the same token, all we've really heard so far is like singles and an EP. So I hope this leads to an album where we hear some more of their songwriting coming back as well. If you read this, I hope they get well soon. Yeah, love to Harry there. Okay, I can see I'm a little bit behind. Michael says Scandal hit it out of the park with Girl Ghost, which is surely destined for the set list of their 20th anniversary show. I would imagine so. I mean, it's one of the most recent singles. I mean, they're going to play the classics, but obviously they're going to play the most recent singles as well. So I agree, and I think it's a solid single. I really do. It doesn't quite have the wow factor of Terror Boy, but I think it has more longevity. I think it will stick with us longer. I think we'll be enjoying it for longer. That's my opinion. Probably not true of a lot of people, but that's my opinion. Loon says, speaking of radio, there's an FM station. Wow, FM. I remember FM. It's going back in the day. Based in Aberdeen that lets you apply to do a show. You can bring your own music and play what you want. I'm considering applying. Wow. The only problem is that there's legality issues with that. I mean, so with a lot of radio stations, what they'll do is they'll pay for a license to basically allow you to play what you want. But that doesn't mean you can literally play anything, especially if it's Japanese music. That's not always covered. So you might want to check with them. If you can do that, then Loon, freaking do it. Although the problem is that if you're doing it, like, you have quite a select taste in music. I wonder what that would sound like. It's like The Warning and then Sakura Gakuin. That's going to be a very weird listen. Michael says, best wishes for a speedy recovery, Harry. Yeah, glad everyone's given Harry some support. Tune says, what are the inconveniences of living in Korea? Are there any new problems you haven't encountered living in Tokyo? That's almost like a Q&A question, actually. I'm going to jump into the Q&A in a second as well. So with the... if you return to Japan, do you have to pay the Reikin again for your apartment? Not for my apartment, no, because I'm maintaining it. So yeah, I won't have to pay that. No, it's maintained. But if I lost it, then yeah, that would be a whole thing. I'd have to start that again, and plus I'd have to pay to close down the apartment. So there'd be so many costs. So maintaining it is actually cheaper. Plus, as I say, I don't want to lose it. It's my apartment. You know, my name's on the contract. Everything's legal. You know, it's my apartment. I don't want to lose it. So yeah, no, I wouldn't have to pay that. But if I lost the apartment, I'd have to pay for all of the closing down fees, all of that. I wouldn't get the deposit because the deposit wasn't mine to begin with. I wouldn't get the raking because obviously that wasn't, well, you don't get that back. And I'd have to pay for a new, it would be insanely expensive. In regards to what Tune said about the inconveniences of living in Korea, like I say, I've spent a fair amount of time in Korea, but I don't really feel so much like I haven't really been out of the apartment that much because I've just been working. Korea is not overly more inconvenient. There's not as much, but it's still, it basically, I heard someone say once before, and I want to be cautious saying this because it sounds really rude, but I think it is kind of true, which is that sometimes Korea does feel like Japan 30 years ago. You know, it's like, it's got all of the conveniences, but not quite as much. They're not quite as functional, you know, a lot of the things don't work quite as well, but it's basically the bare bones of the same thing. You know, you've got your Daisos, but they're not quite as good. They're pretty good. You've got supermarkets. They tend to have most of the things, but not quite as much. It's kind of like just Japan, but just a little bit more inconvenient. Most of the differences really come down to just the way that the social side, you know, the way people are, the way that things function on that side is very different. The atmosphere is very different. But if you look at it just on a purely mechanical level, how Korea functions and what's basically in Korea, it's not that different, really. Also, the air quality here is, so a lot of people have pointed out that you look at buildings in Japan, they look unusually clean compared to most other countries, including Korea. I think a large point of that is air quality. I never really thought about that much before, but I did notice that when you walk around, especially where I am, I'm on top of a hill, so it's very high up. There's actually a very good view from here. And you look in the distance and you never just get that thing in Japan where you can just see for miles. So even on a clear day, there's a bit of a haze and you're like, the air quality is just not as much, which is why I think that plus the fact that there's less maintenance as a general, I think things tend to look a little bit more grey here, but yeah. Lots of love for Harry, that's nice. They already have a world music show. Yeah, I mean I won't waste time on it now, Loon, but just be aware that first of all, the World Music Show either A might have some restrictions you're not currently aware of, B, they might be breaking some rules that they're not aware of. That's also possible. Or C, it could just be that the music they pick from Japan has to be from a very specific list. I'm not going to waste time getting into the copyright element of it now, but if you do want to discuss that later, then please let me know, because that is an area that I've got a fair amount of experience in. As you know, before, actually, this whole channel came over from being a radio show before, so I had to deal with a lot of that back then as well. And obviously, I've worked with Japanese copyright before, so if you want to ask anything about that, let me know. I'm not a lawyer, but I can get into that in more detail by all means. Hello to Andy, hello. So Michael says, Caramel Candid and other young bands in the live house scene seem to have bucked a trend of having outside writers compose songs on their behalf due to a lack of writing experience at all. That's actually a really interesting point. So in regards to that, Michael, I don't know if they have. So I'm going to word this carefully, because I don't want anyone to say it's the wrong way. They've certainly been part of that becoming more the norm. That has increasingly become the norm over time. But the truth is that, and I'm going to word this very carefully, comparing bands like Scandal and, to a degree, Bandmade, to bands like Caramel Candid and other bands of that ilk isn't a like-for-like comparison. Because the thing is that due to, so as I say that, and again, I don't want people to take this the wrong way, because I think there are two different reasons to get into music, and that's absolutely fine. A lot of my favourite bands, I feel, are bands where, and I don't necessarily mean this is in the most enjoyable music, but the bands who I maybe resonate most with are the bands who they get, when they pick up a guitar for the first time, when they play an instrument, it's not because they want to play an instrument per se, it's because they just have something that they want to express. And so their love of making songs comes before anything else. So they pick up the instrument, they learn to play guitar, and often therefore, like, a lot of these bands will not be as musically proficient as other bands, but they pick it up for that reason. And therefore they become these songwriting engines, and it becomes a completely, you cannot remove that from them. It's everything they do. There would be no point in them doing anything otherwise. Then you get some bands like Scandal, who they come up because they went to a performance college. They did that, and it's hard to know exactly where they approached it from, but clearly there was just a general love of music, and then they got signed, and so there was never really the same. I mean, they even started off doing like covers, like the Roy Orbison cover and everything like that. There was never really a feeling that they wanted to play music, but there was never really a feeling that songwriting was the thing that they wanted to do. It was just something they picked up because they naturally found a penchant for it, because everyone has something they want to express. And the same thing, I think Bandmade's an interesting one, because obviously the members had a certain degree of history before Bandmade. They had a lot of activities prior to that. But it does seem that there was a certain musician for hire quality to various members there as well, where I don't think that the fact that songwriting is what we do at the core was quite as embed into them. But I'm not surprised that they took over so quickly with their duties, because, the fact that they nearly quit before Thrill shows to me that they did have a genuine interest in what they wanted their direction to be. So, and of course, obviously the image side with, Miku making them Bandmade. But there are very different ways of being this. Now, though, I think what we're really seeing is not so much a bucking of the trend, but those bands who it's not their goal to sign up to a record label. Because a record label, and again, it's not record labels are evil. Record labels are going to look at a young band who are relatively inexperienced and go, look, you have a marketable quality, but to make any money off this, we need you to have good songs. So they're going to connect you up to a songwriter. If they listen to your songs and they go, okay, maybe you've got a couple of good ones, they're instead going to go, but we got this songwriter, they nail it, they get hits, or they got a few songwriters, and we got this band, they got a marketable image, they're going to put you together. Of course they are. So it's not like an evil record company thing, it's just what happens. So if your goal is to get onto a record label, as it often is if you come up through like a performing arts college, or if it's something that you decide to do quickly, then yeah, you are going to end up being in that space. You're probably going to get more well-known more quickly, but you're going to be in that space of bands where you are kind of, you are just kind of like this very marketable, probably very musically talented thing that it's a surefire thing that needs time to grow. Is basically and that's why a lot of record companies look at bands like that. They're like, we want to pick something which can grow, and so they'll do that. Whereas bands like Caramel Candid, obviously I'm using them as one example, but there's a lot of bands like this, and Michael's correctly identified the fact there's more of a prevalence of these kind of bands now that we're seeing. What we're really seeing is not a bucking of the trend. What we're seeing is that the internet is allowing us to find that these bands existed, because they always kind of existed. I mean, funny thing is, you go back to bands like Shonen Knife. Obviously, Shonen Knife, that was their business model from get-go. And the only reason that they really became famous is because they got picked up for being kind of quirky and unusual. But it wasn't so much, I mean, they were on indie labels and stuff, weren't they? I can't remember their entire list of like record company contracts, but they were on indie labels for the best part. And it was just sort of touring and getting out there that helped them. But yeah, I think Michael raises a really good point there, but I don't think it's so much that we're seeing a bucking of the trend. I think that we're just seeing that those bands are there, and those bands are becoming more and more skilled at marketing themselves because the internet allows them to. Especially in, I mean, the internet has allowed band marketing for a long time, but I think in the sort of post-COVID, post-2020 world, much more than it's ever been, When you think about it, it was only 2013 that we really got the Asian breakout. 2012, Gangnam Style was obviously a big part of that. Then, 2013, we had things like Baby Metal, we had Kyary Pammy Pammy. These had a big impact on the international scene. You think about the world before 2013, it was extremely different. And that wasn't that long ago, really. I mean, it was actually quite a long time ago, but it's not like that long ago in the grand scheme of like a lot of the bands that we know to have existed. So a lot has fundamentally changed, but then you think about actually having access to underground bands. I mean, you think pre-2013, we didn't even have access to the big name stuff other than like super weeby niches and things. But think about really post-2020 is really when we got access to the niche bands, the really small live house bands, when they started to become a thing that people really understood about overseas. So yeah, I think it's more just our general ability to see these things has changed a lot. Anyway, it's 36. I'm going to have a quick look at the Q&A before we go any further. Oh my God, the screen is full. How's the situation in Korea? Thank you for asking, Michael. I feel like in my previous rants already covered that, but much appreciated. So D. Roberts, hello. Hi, Howard. Have you had a chance to check out Cupid Thames single Say Nothing, my new favorite band? I've never even heard of it. I'll be honest with you, a lot of the stuff that I pick up for doing so basically my music comes from free spaces. I have the stuff that I do on reactions, which will very often be a mixture of following my YouTube algorithm, and if I see something really interesting, I'll follow it. It will maybe be bands I've heard about, where I've heard one song about them before, and I've gone, I really like that. Next time I hear them, I'm gonna do a reaction, or it'll be stuff that people are talking about in the Discord. So I tend to pick up these things kind of by osmosis in a way. Then you'll have the stuff that I get through when we do the Twitch streams, like we're doing tonight with the patrons, and they'll show me stuff I've never heard before, and that might alert me to stuff I've never heard. Then there's also the other ways by going to live houses. I go to live houses, and either I see a band, or I just see a band on like one of the posters, and it's like maybe I can't see them today, but I think, well, that sounds interesting. I'll check that out for a stream or something. And then sometimes it'll just be stuff where I'll just be going through YouTube and I'll see something recommended and I think, well, it's not worth doing a reaction, but I'm just going to check that out. So I've got a lot of sources for bringing things in, but this is not one I've heard yet or come across as far as I'm aware. So I would say now you've mentioned that, there's a good possibility I might forget it. But if we bring that up in Discord or something, I'll try and keep that one fresh and I'll have a little look and see if I can see that. But yeah, not one I'm familiar with, but thank you. Thank you for putting that on there, man. Thank you for putting that on there. I always feel bad if someone recommends something and I don't check it out. It's not because I didn't check it out deliberately. It's just because there's, like I said, I've got all these sources for music that sometimes I just miss and forget things. So hopefully if we can bring that into the Discord, I'll try and keep that fresh in my memory. Michael says, what was the beginning of your awards video shoot on the steps of the building, which houses your apartment in Japan? Was the beginning of your awards video shot in the steps of the building which houses your apartment? No, it was not. I think it was the 5th year awards where you see the outside of my apartment at the end because I walk out of the apartment. before I do the last tours. But no, that was not my that was in, well, I mean, actually, as I say, as I'm walking down there, that was in Shimokitazawa, so that's not where I live, but that's where I spend most of my time. So yeah, that was filmed in Shimokitazawa. That it was I was actually standing at the top of so where I'm standing is on the top balcony, but the one floor below that is a really fantastic acoustic venue, and in the basement is the live house, which is called Live House, Haus. So that was the building. But yeah, good question. All right, I'm going to wrap this up because we're actually going surprisingly fast here. I'm going to wrap up the. Well, actually, I'll tell you, I'm going to leave Q&A open. Because we still got like 20 minutes. Because there's a lot of comments coming in on the main chat as well, so I'll try and keep up with all of it. Let's have a look at this. How do you feel about a new Scandal song? So this is really interesting. So 33%, we had 15 votes, so 5 people thought it was better than expected. 5 people thought it was the usual goodness, so 10 people really enjoyed it. But then of the remainders, we had 3 people who squeezed placed in the middle and 2 who not quite what we hoped for. So there's general positive reviews. It's interesting because looking at the comments underneath it, I've got kind of some mixed comments from people who weren't so mad about it, but yeah. I mean, I didn't think it was like the best Scandal song ever, but I thought it was a damn good bit of fun. So, yeah. So Michael's got a couple of comments in here. Let me just read these. Many musicians in Korea walking around with guitar backpacks. Howard, how long's a piece of string? I've seen maybe 1 or 2, not as many as I'd see in Japan, not even close. But probably more than I'd see in Estonia? I don't know. I'm not drawing musical comparisons between Caramel Can and Band-Maid as Scandal, as they couldn't be more different. Sonically, says Michael. Yeah, no, I know you're not drawing comparisons, but what I'm more saying is that I'm more trying to explain why I think you might see that as a bucking of the trend. And maybe not even specifically you, but maybe why I think it would look from the outside like these young bands are bucking a trend, when I don't really think they are. I think that we're just seeing a side to that music. Because before, the only bands you'd have seen were the ones who'd have become signed. And when they become signed, as I say, it's kind of natural that a record company is probably going to look to team you up with a songwriter straight away. But you know, increasingly we're seeing bands who are not signed, or bands who are looking to be signed, but don't need to be signed straight away. I mean, as I say, without giving away too much, Caramel Candid have had the option to be signed. I don't think that that's something that they have not had any conversations about. But I honestly, from speaking to them, I don't think they're in any rush. And from all the conversations we've had, they're in no rush to do it, because why? They're doing fine without it. So I think that's just the ability to have like your own presence and have a genuinely successful growth band is something that's more possible now. Terry says Akane and Haruna are good friends, so hopefully we get a collaboration in the future. That's really cool. I mean, I think I've said before, like I always find band collaborations to be something that I would mention the Band-Maid Warning one, but I think there's a lot of other aspects there. Like that came together very quickly, and plus, I'm not a big fan of the Warning anyway. But if I'm honest with you, I think band collaborations are always a difficult thing to do, because if you collaborate 2 bands, you've all basically got the same members. So really, it's not so much about what you can both bring to the music as who's going to have to step aside. Because really, I said this when I was talking about before the Band-Maid Warning one came out. In fact, before it had even been announced, when I predicted it, I did a video where I was talking about that. And I was kind of like trying to explain how they could work it out. And people were like, oh, it's fine. This band from this period had 2 drummers, and this band from this period had 2 bassists. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not saying that no one's ever had a song with 2 bassists, or a song with 2 guitarists, or a song with 4 guitarists, or 2 drummers. But I'm just saying that is not an optimal way to like write a song. So yeah, I don't know. I'm always a big fan usually when you get more obscure collaborations. Like, I would like to see a band performing with a really well recognized singer. I think I actually said that I was talking to a good friend of mine the other day, and we were talking about how it would be really cool to have like Trident do a collaboration with Anno. I mean, obviously that would never happen because Anno's fame level is like a million times higher. But it's like things like that, you know, bringing a really distinct singer and doing a collaboration with a band. I'm taking this way off of the, but yeah, that's kind of how I always think about collaborations. John Peel played Shonen Knife a lot on his show. Yep, yep. And Melt Banana, that's another one that really broke up to him. And he says, pre-2010, I think the only Japanese artist I really knew was Hirami Uehara. I recognise that name. Boris, heard of it, not super familiar. And Melt Banana. Is it going to be a Twitch stream tonight? If so, I'll get a suggestion in for Patreon. Yes, as I was saying earlier, I'm still definitely suffering with the migraine, but I'm going to do the Twitch stream. I'm going to take it easy and we'll see how it goes. So yeah, Melt Banana, got a lot of love for them. Do you know what? Before Caramel Candid and Dada Dams, it's quite possible that the Melt Banana might be the band who I'd seen the most live. I'd seen them a lot live. It was just they were always at events I was doing, but I also did really like them, and I chatted with them. I got a few photographs of me with the band, well, the duo as it is now. So yeah, that was always a really interesting one. But yeah, so pre-2010, I mean, as I mentioned, my history of Japanese music goes back somewhere in the late 90s, the very late 90s, but somewhere around there. But yeah, even the music I'm aware of has changed. I think I mentioned that Lazy Guns Brisky was the first live house band that I really, solely live house band. I've been listening to other bands who played in live houses, but that was the first solely live house band that I really got into. And that would have been around about 2012. So, yeah. Miro was saying, I think it was pre-2013 when Perfume did a documentary of their overseas tour. They had overseas fans, but it was still niche and playing smallish venues. Exactly, yeah. It was very neat. I mean, the funny thing is, as I mentioned, if you go back to 2013, I think, 2013 was the year I broke up with my then Korean girlfriend, but we'd been living together for a couple of years. And, I'd been around a few people who were very familiar with the Korean scene. Because I got to know her because I was hanging out with another friend of mine who was dating a Korean person at the same time. So we spent a lot of time around that scene, and we were both working on music. So I was familiar with the Korean, even though I was more into Japanese music. I was very familiar with the Korean music scene for a while, and the Korean music scene was high. K-pop was well known, but in a hyper niche way. Yeah, it was a very niche group of people who knew about K-pop. Prior to that period, and so I think that K-pop and J-pop both existed in the same way. It's just the funny thing is that back then, in the UK, back in before Gangnam Style, if you'd spoken about K-pop, no one would have known what you were talking about. But if you spoke about J-pop, some people would have heard of it. It was like, oh, J-pop, yeah, that's like the maids and the Japanese girls and stuff. Some people would have heard of it, but K-pop I think was largely an unknown to the general person. Still, even then, most people wouldn't either have heard of it either. But then after 2012, K-pop blew up and it became the much more familiar name to most people. Pre-2010, says Loon, the only band I'd heard of was Godeigo, and I only knew them as the theme to Monkey. There we go. So you and Bubbles had a lot in common. Little bit of love there from Michael. So THS Mook, I don't know how to shorten that down. I'm going to call you Thusmook. Hello, Thusmook. hello. Cool Jeff says, throwing a curveball. I tried to read the Neki Flower. Is there any tour dates in May? Sorry. All right, let's bring it a bit closer then. Unfortunately, the tour finishes on the 26th of April. Given how tours usually work, they probably won't have anything the month directly afterwards in terms of tour dates. But Neki are still at that level where they will probably occasionally turn up on circuit festivals, maybe even festivals. But I would say if you want to see Neki in May, my guess is that your best option would be to check out circuit festivals or two-man shows. I mean, remember the two-man show of Trident wasn't part of the tour. They've appeared at circuit festivals. They were recently at Shimokitazawa Mosaic, which is one of my favorite venues, and it's this. In fact, I sometimes say it is my favorite venue, and it's like this small, 250-person live house with just the best sound and the best bar and everything. So, and that again was not on the tour, as far as I'm aware. No, I don't think it was. No, it wasn't. So, I did Eggman again in February. Oh, they're doing it again in February. So, you know, doesn't mean they won't be playing. So check for it, but don't look at it as one of their tour dates. Look to just check. And best thing to do is if you go on the Most Bands Twitter, click on the media tab and then just scroll through, and every time you see an event poster, click on that, because that will usually be them sharing the poster of an event they're going to be playing at. Or you can just use the AI thing on Twitter and say, is this band playing in May? And it will tell you. Mirai says, Neki on ticket website and the poster only going to April, so maybe more things. Yeah, I kind of covered that. But thank you, Mirai. Hi, says Nguyen. So, okay, so Nguyen knows Thismuk. Thismuk is our new friend. I think I've seen Thismuk before. I think I've seen you in the comments, I think. But hello. All right, everyone's chatting there. Chris says, you got to trip us up on a live chat and play Doppel in the beginning. Chris, you know that's not going to happen, right? Simply this. That's going to be really hard to say. This. I'm going with Thismuk. I need the two syllables, I'm sorry. And this is Melt Banana were definitely UK indie scene darlings back in the day. They play more in the UK than they do in Japan even now. Boris instrumentally are more like a heavier prog tinged Glim Spanky with 70s vibe, but also known for big shifts. Okay. Michael's Scrapbook is said to be Kokoro's favourite track on Meme. That's an interesting one. Solomon Shimikazawa in May last Friday. At the big fest. Cool. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly speak. I'm going to check the Q&A. I'm going to speak about some of the songs that have come out, because we haven't really talked specifically about a couple of them. And then we'll sort of move from there. Let's just have a look at the Q&A here. So Loon says, how many signature model guitars is too many for an artist to have? Great question. We were talking about this earlier. I'm not going to get too deep into this, because I know we've talked about this a lot on Discord, and I know a lot of people disagree with me on this, so I'm just going to say my comment and out. There's not really much point in us following this up, but I'll just give my opinion, because this chat just goes on forever and it's too subjective. But in my opinion, I think that an artist should only ever have one signature guitar, because I think that's what the word signature means. It means it's your signature. You only have one signature. I think having multiple signature guitars appearing one after the other, I think that's kind of like, when mobile phone companies bring out a new mobile phone and they deliver. It's like old mobile phones don't actually have to become unusable. They almost all have good enough hardware. They almost all do the job, but things are programmed into them to make them become redundant, and it's just to make you buy the new one. So for me, signature guitars, if an artist keeps on having signature guitars, I just don't like it. I think it's kind of like mining for money. However, if a artist wants to have a range of guitars, don't call it a signature. Say, so this company and this artist have teamed up to release this range of guitars. That's fair enough, because you take away the word signature and you take away the must-have thing. Now, of course, the fool and his money are soon parted. If people are going to spend money for something they don't want, that's kind of on them. But I just feel like there's something, I don't like the use of the word signature. I just think it's like, I think it's like marketing. I think it's manipulative marketing. Either have a guitar range, team up and have an official guitar range in which you can add new ones, or just have a signature guitar. I mean, forget, Brian May had a signature guitar. That's a signature guitar. He had one guitar. I know Andy's going to tell me he had like 5 now. Andy, if that's the case, shh. Chris says, is there IKEA houses in Korea too? Is it just a unique Japanese thing? Actually not sure what that means. What's an IKEA house? I mean, I'm guessing the kanji there. So I'm just gonna finish the Q&A with that one and go back to live chat. But just let me just end the Q&A. IKEA house definition. Oh, okay. Yeah. Look, I'll say it before. So this is that trend of like empty houses. Miro, what were you posting? Yeah. So this is this trend for empty houses. Look, if you're one of those people who watches those videos that say, "Hey, come to Japan, you can buy an empty house and live there," or "It's really cheap to buy houses in Japan. People sell abandoned houses." Please don't be fooled by that nonsense. Please don't. It's so much more complicated than that. There might be some circumstances under which you have the correct career, that you can get the right visa, that you can do land ownership, that you can do all of these things, and you might have the right knowledge and you might be able to get through the right people to do the various things, but the internet is full of nonsense making that look really easy, and it is not. It is not what it's presented to be. So I would say the best thing to do, unless you are very well off for money, and you immediately know that you can pick up the visa that will allow you to sign contracts in Japan and own land, which again can be done if you have a lot of money and a specifically good career. Unless you've got all of those things already, in which case you already have enough money and resources that you don't even have to be worrying about IKEA houses, then don't worry about IKEA houses. You either don't have the ability to do it, which is totally respectable. Most people don't have what they actually need to do that, and it would be very hard for them to get what they need. Or you do have what you need, in which case you probably don't have to worry about that anyway. Just have a house built. Just have a house built. Buy a plot of land and have a new house built, which is actually comparatively quite cheap. Yeah, so that entire thing is just some nonsense they do to like get clicks. There might be some circumstances in which that's useful for you, but it's a nonsense industry that's just like done to hype up people online. So I love that people are enthusiastic about it. I would say if you want to experience a place like that, there are places like that on Airbnb. There's one in Chiba actually you can go to, which is like that. It's an old abandoned farmhouse, which is just about workable. And you can go stay there and you get the whole farmhouse and like quite a big area of like farm as well. And it's very cheap. It's in the middle of nowhere. Go out there, try that, experience that, and you'll soon realize that you don't want to live there. It literally says on the advert, this place is full of bugs. So I love that. Yeah, that's my opinion on that. So I don't know if they exist in Korea, but best, just not a thing to be worth thinking about, I think. Jeff, so everyone's saying hello to Jeff. Hello to Hot Jeff as well. Got Hot Jeff and Cool Jeff. Signature. Oh, sorry, I was calling Hot Jeff. I was calling Hot Jeff Cool Jeff before. Sorry, I got you confused. We've got Cool Jeff has just arrived. Oh my god. Sorry to Hot Jeff for calling you Cool Jeff. Apologies. Signature guitars, bass, and drums in different colour. Yeah. Mirai posted something very confusing that looks like he's copy pasted it off of something else, but it says Telima, an artist keeps milking signatures by making new updated versions of the same guitar. Yeah, I'm not really sure what Miro was posting there. Sorry, the internet is full of nonsense. Howard 2026 best quote of this year. Where to begin? Andy, I can see that your comment starts with Brian May. I don't want to read it. Yeah, entire guitar company these days, but that's different. I said that. If you haven't, no, having a range or something, that is different. That is not having a signature guitar. There's two different things. Yeah, I said this before. It's the term signature guitar that irks me. Is an industry standard term. I don't care. I really dislike when people say it's an industry standards term to forgive marketing. That's a marketing term. Yeah, it's a marketing term. I don't care. It's a marketing term, and it's bullshit for a start. Yeah, I'm sorry. You can't have multiple signatures. No, you don't have that. That's not true. I completely rebuke it. I don't care if it's considered standard. The only people who consider it standard are people who don't understand what the word signature means. No, I'm not having that. Michael says, Brian Mays, oh no. I don't want to talk about signature guitars. I already said this. I said I've got my opinion on this. We've talked about this loads in Discord. I'm just not interested in talking about signature guitars. So I'm going to skip over this, sorry. Jeff says, so Hot Jeff, I've been thinking about retirement in Japan, buying an abandoned house or renting, but soon come back to reality after a few hours search. Yeah, I'm glad you finished the paragraph like that. Well, here's the thing: don't get advice in anything important from a YouTube video. Go to an expert, even a YouTube video who's saying I'm an expert in this. If he seems like a good person, contact his company and contact them directly and have a proper conversation. But if you're making big investments, YouTube is designed to get clicks. And certainly don't do it from like Instagram or TikTok. And this, well, I mean, if you're going to get like house buying advice from Instagram or TikTok, you deserve to be parted from your money. Or in fact, just follow my TikTok channel. Give Howard money. I need to make that. But yeah, I'm with you on that. So I just wanted to quickly, because we're coming up to 2 o'clock now, so I just wanted to sort of like focus on the couple of things that we hadn't really spoken about as much here. One, of course, as you brought up, was Neki with Scrapbook. So obviously I'd already made my feelings known on Scrapbook, and I did my reaction to it. As a song, it puts me in a difficult position because I really like the song Scrapbook as just a fun thing. I think it does so many of the things you want. It's different from anything else on the album, which gives it a sense of variation. It's the one song where like Hika can put down the guitar and just move around, and you can see he's having fun. As I said, when I saw them play it live, it was so cool to see Hika having so much fun on stage. So I love that aspect of it as well. It's got this really good, as I say, it's rocking energy. Just the only thing that I just want to be a little bit. I'm just scared when they put out a song like that and it gets a lot of positive feedback, because the problem is that the one thing that makes Neki special is that they're not getting tempted into being like a heavy band or doing like the old school rock things or all the things that basically the Band-Maid fans like. And I see things like people are like, oh, it's so cool, Neki go to Band-Maid gigs. And it's like, I love that these two bands are friends and I love the tying. I just really, really, really don't want them to get tempted into being a hard rock band, because to me that would kill everything that kind of makes Neki are cool, because they're not that. We've got so much of that. Neki have this really unique sound. So I love Scrapbook as a song. I love it as a Neki song. I love it as the variation it gives to the album. But there is this part of me which is just like, please let this be the deviation, and don't let this be the thing where everyone goes, well, we really like that one. And, I don't want this to be their thrill, where everyone goes, we really like that, and then they become that. That's just where my mind is at on that. But, I have to have more faith in Neki. I have faith in Neki. I don't think they would become that. Because we already have Band-Maid. I love Band-Maid for being Band-Maid. I don't need 2 Band-Maids. I really don't need 2 Band-Maids. That's another quote. Amy says, it made sense as terms of... Yeah, again, I don't want to do... We haven't got time. I don't really want to do a signature thing, but I much appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, it's a term. I think it's redundant. We haven't talked about Tokyo Shibuya Milky Way.
Tokyo Shibuya Milky Way.
Sorry, what happened? Sorry, I just blacked out for a second. So anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah, I was saying
Tokyo Shibuya Milky Way.
yeah. So anyway, I appreciate everyone wants to talk about the signature guitar thing, which is why we talked about it so much in Discord. It's a great conversation, but it's just not one that I just haven't. I don't want to do that again. YouTube filtered out my comment. Did it look like a fake computer program like the one before? And the other song, obviously, it's a shame, it's 2 o'clock, so we're kind of running out of time, but I really want to talk as well about the Real and Lisa song with Giga as the producer-composer. That was really interesting. Yeah, that was a genuinely kind of like surprising collaboration. I guess in a way it makes sense, because you kind of think about Lisa as being one of the... Because Real is actually quite popular. She's not like a megastar, but she's definitely like a rising star. But Lisa, we kind of think about her as being like such a big name. She's such a huge name. But, even though like Lisa is the much bigger name, it was kind of like still like... When they announced the collaboration, it was like, that's both unexpected, but it makes sense. And then listening to the song, as I say, that was kind of one of those collaborations that rather than being some high-minded thing, it was just so fun. It was, it's a little bit disposable, but it's so much fun, and that's fine. It's not like, when I say a little bit disposable, I mean, it's like one of those songs that, it's just kind of for a bit of fun, a bit of partying. It's not a song you're going to super want to listen to all the time, but it's a song that if you're in the right mood, you're definitely going to come back to. And just so much about it is so enjoyable, and the fun they're having, the fact that Lisa gets to stretch her voice a little bit on it, but in a playful way. They got a video that didn't look like it cost more than like sort of a couple of yen to make, but it looks fun, it looks brilliant. I mean, just right down to the bit where like Reo is sort of singing and then Lisa bursts out in the fridge. Why not? Okay, why not? And to me, everything, not just the video, But the song, I said this in my reaction, and I think this is really important to say. The song had that vibe that I sometimes describe, which to me, it sounded like a song where the studio must have been so much fun. You know, because it's one of those songs where you can see that probably like Giga probably came in with like the basic idea of the song and like maybe a few little variations on the core of the song and the structure. And then you can just imagine them sitting there playing with it, tweaking with it, going, oh, what if I sing this bit? What if I sing that bit? And it feels like a song that was generated from just 3 people having so much fun in the studio. And I know that's difficult to explain because it's very often easy for people to see a live performance and just see the fun viscerally. And so I know that it's a bit of an uphill struggle when I try to explain to people why the studio is just as fun in a totally different way, but just as pivotal and artistically fun as any live stage. Because of course it's not something, you don't see it. And even if you saw like behind the scenes videos, it doesn't quite capture it. You kind of have to go through the whole experience of seeing the ideas coming up, you know, seeing like the little chats, you know, seeing people sitting around the studio, eating and drinking, getting food in, and like someone will just say something and someone goes, oh, say that again. Oh, that's cool. We need to put that in. We need to put that in. Or someone just makes a little sound or something and someone goes, oh, yeah, put that to the beat. Or just something, you know, someone leaves something on the recording, you know, they finish their take and then they say something and like the engineer just samples that little bit and puts it in a loop and goes, check this out. You know, those little moments, those little ideas, you know, someone plays a little keyboard idea and then they all sit there and expand it together. That's the kind of fun I get from that song. I get that feeling that like we're just sitting around having fun. And even without the video, it would be so clear. But then the video kind of like just joins in with that sense of joy. So for me, it's like, is it like a 10 out of 10 song that I'm going to come back and repeat, listen to every 5 seconds? Maybe not. But to me, it is a song that lives and breathes that sense of just creative silliness that is so joyful to hear. And I do worry that it's only really joyful sometimes to folks like myself who can appreciate what it is or can maybe empathize with what it is, sympathize with what it is. But I really genuinely hope that it's something that more people can just sort of like hear that aspect and hear it not just as the kind of disposable pop song that it's obviously playing towards being, but also as the creative good time that it really was. Or that I believe it. If that's not how it was created, then they did a damn good job of making it sound that way. That's my way of looking at it. Let's have a look at some of the comments on here. In your current situation, you enable a super chat. So super chat requires you monetize the channel. As I mentioned before, I'm not going to monetize the channel. There's a few reasons, apart from anything else, is the fact that you get there's virtually no money comes through. I would say if anyone wants to support the channel, I massively appreciate it. But I would say use the PayPal link or the Western Union or something like that, because then at least I'll get the actual money. You look at the YouTube. If you do super chats and stuff, it takes a huge amount of money from it. Plus, it massively. One of the things I have to explain is it massively complicates my tax situation, which is also very problematic for visas. So yeah, I'm never going to monetize the channel. And I know some people might only want to give money through Super Chat, and I might lose out a little bit from that. But I would just say to anyone, if you do want to support the channel, if I can just convince people to make that extra step over to, if they want to do the PayPal, that's great. If they want to go a step further and do the Western Union, which means I get almost all of the money, there's virtually no fees on that. Well, there are fees, but much less than Super Chat. Then that's great. But I know a lot of people aren't willing to go all the way to the Western Union side of things. So just like, PayPal is often enough. But yeah, the Super Chat thing, between the visa problems, the problems that when you monetize the channel, it puts problems in anyway. All those issues, it's just, it's not gonna really be something that I'm inclined to do, I think. But thank you for asking. I do appreciate that. Real and Lisa was an epic mashup. Loved it, says Trick. Yeah, I think a lot of people did. Yeah. Loon said, as I said on Discord, best thing Lisa has done in years. I don't follow Lisa's career super closely, but I like Lisa's sound. I kind of like a lot of what I've seen of her personality as well. But I have to be honest, a lot of the time when people play me Lisa songs, I do find that for all of her talent, the songs are often, they're not bad, they're just a little bit underwhelming. Like I've heard a lot of songs from Lisa where I just thought, yeah, it's just kind of generic. Like she had that song Queen recently, which was actually pretty interesting, but it wasn't one I came back to a huge amount. It was kind of like, this is good, but it wasn't like a wow, you're a superstar kind of song. It was just kind of like a, yeah, this is really strong. I heard some of her earlier songs that made her really famous, and those kind of more made sense to me, but definitely in the era that they came out, you know. So, you know, I don't know. I feel like Lisa's one of those people who I respect, I like her, and I'm kind of glad that she is where she is. I think she sort of brings a really positive energy, but her music doesn't hugely grab me for the best part. And this is weird because in a way, this is probably one of the most lowbrow things she's done in ages, and yet I think this kind of grabbed me, and I think her energy with Riel was a really good team up. Michael says, how about your own line of merch? I did that for a while and no one bought anything. I think the only person who ever bought anything was Chris. So thank you, Chris. Sorry, autocorrect wrong again. I'm not sure what that's in reference to. It looked like it was correct. Okay. Lisa is the queen of anime songs. She kind of is. Yeah, I mean, there's a few, like you got your Nana Mizuki and people like that. But yeah, I think in a way Lisa is kind of like one of the people you most come back to. Sven says, I didn't like the Riel and Lisa song, makes sense that Giga wrote it. Yeah, that's fair enough. Again, I feel like Giga put together the music, but I feel like it was a collaborative aspect. Again, I mean, the problem is when someone says they like something or they didn't like it, unless we really discuss the reasons why you liked it or didn't like it, then yeah, all I can really say is, yeah, fair enough. Rock Mode is still Lisa's best song. Oh, I need to check that. I don't know if I've heard that one. I'll have to check and see. Grenga for me, says Michael. Rock Mode is a really good song. Yeah, I'm not sure if I've already heard that one, but I'll have to go check that out. Anyway, okay, so we are past 2 o'clock. It's nearly 2:15. So I'm going to wrap this one up now. And then we'll go over and do the Twitch as usual. Again, thank you for everyone bearing with me. I do have, the migraine is still there, but I'm managing it. And yeah, should be all right. Should be all right. I did actually I took the last of my painkillers. The painkillers I usually buy, you can't get them in Korea. But yeah, I took the painkiller that you can get here, and it's crap. It's really bad. It doesn't do anything. I was like, oh. Actually, I genuinely felt like I wasted my money. I was like, oh. It's just, and it was like, everyone was like, oh, this is the really good one, this is a really good one. I took it and I was like, it didn't do shit. Do not angry. Yes, that is actually the correct thing to say. I think in my particular situation, it would be kind of possible to get angry. But, yeah, sometimes you just have to say,
Do not angry! What? No! Oh! Do not angry, okay? Yeah! Don't angry! Fire!
all right, everyone. So I know there's comments coming in, but I'm going to wrap this up now. A few of the comments you're just making at the end, I'll address them over in Twitch because I need to get the Twitch set up, I think, now. But I'll address some of these comments. So if you come over onto Twitch, I'll answer some of the things you're saying right now over there. But I'm going to wrap this up. As usual, let us bring out the bog roll. Thank you so much for everyone for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Thank you for, as always, for showing the support, sticking with me. You're all freaking amazing. And I was really worried about going and doing this live chat today because I was like, such a migraine, but just chatting with you guys has made it so much fun. And I'm looking forward to doing the Twitch review in a moment, all right? So thank you again, everyone. I'll answer some of the overhanging questions when we get over to Twitch in a few minutes. But until then, lots of love. Have a good morning, afternoon, evening, nighttime, lunchtime, whatever time it is for you. And until I see you either in the next one, on the reaction channel, in the next review, on Band Broadcast, in Discord, or on Twitch, for now, ciao, ciao.